So let's talk about how the Jeep Gladiator is doing. You know, the Jeep, it does not have a great reputation, right? Particularly if you listen to a lot of the naysayers and the trolls out there, they'll tell you how bad the Jeep Gladiator is. So I thought I'd get in, give you guys kind of a report as to how mine is doing. I've had it for a few months now. It's not that old. It's a 2025 Jeep Gladiator Sport, and it does have the Nighthawk trim, which is basically just a blackout trim, if you will. I don't know if I would pay any more for it again. I mean, a lot of the stuff is really just aesthetic. Doesn't really have a lot of, I guess, use value to it. But nonetheless, it looks good. I like having the blacked out features of the truck. So let's start in the beginning. Fuel economy. This thing sucks. I'm getting 14 miles per gallon. I'm looking at it right now, 14 miles per gallon. Now, I know there are some out there who are going to say, well, that's because you lifted it and you put different wheels and tires on it. You've got all this extra weight. Not true. This thing is, except for the front bumper, which is a little bit heavier, I must admit, not hugely, but everything else on this truck is stock. Except for maybe the side rails, or they're not rails, they're steps, but they weigh pretty much the same as what the sliders were that were on the truck, right? So it's basically stock for anything that matters or anything that would add any extra weight. And I'm getting 14 miles per gallon. Pretty miserable. I would have expected this thing to be getting at least, I don't know, 17 to 19 miles per gallon. Maybe 20. It's rated higher than that. Maybe it's due to my driving style. I don't know. Maybe I'm on the gas too much. I don't think so. But nonetheless, that's the reality of it. What about how it feels? You know, we always think that a vehicle feels great when we get it at first, right? Because it does. It's brand new. You're not used to it. You're excited. But after you have it for a while, like I have, and you settle into it a bit, how does it feel? Well, I have to say, it still feels awesome to me. It's comfortable on the inside. It's plenty powerful enough, plenty quick enough. And by the way, we still do have the naturally aspirated V6. Supposedly, next year, they're going to put a hopped up motor, or engine, I should say, in the Jeep Gladiator. We'll see if that happens. I imagine if they do, it will probably be cost prohibitive for most. I expect the price will probably be $80,000, something like that. And there's no way I would spend that kind of money for a Jeep Gladiator, no matter what they put in it. But anyway, it does really well. It's quick enough, it's fast enough, it's powerful enough. Really love the way that it handles, love the comfort and the smoothness of the truck. Now, it still is a truck, so if you get one and you're expecting it to ride like a Cadillac or a Lexus, you're going to be a bit disappointed. Wind noise, it's a brick on wheels. It is louder on the louder side. You guys can hear, I'm sure, the wind buffeting against the windshield. It's not even a windy day outside. So you are going to hear more of that. If it's something you're sensitive to, I would suggest you probably not get a Jeep Gladiator. What about the fit and finish, the quality, that kind of thing? I know sometimes, again, if you listen to the talking heads out there, they'll tell you that it's all plastic, poor quality, the paint sucks. I haven't found any of that to be true. Now, there are a lot of plastics and things inside the truck, but what are they supposed to be? Metal? Titanium? Steel? I don't know. Everything on the inside so far has been perfectly fine for mine. I don't have any weird scratching or gouges or discoloration. I don't even have any warping trim panels due to the heat that we have down here in South Texas. The whole thing is pretty awesome as far as I'm concerned. Now, the outside, when it comes to the trim, paint, seams, panels that line up against each other, don't really have any issues with that either. Everything on the inside is or in the outside I should say, is very solid. No problems with the seams where the different panels and things come together. Everything is pretty darn solid. I don't have any issues with paint. I can't say the same for the Toyota Tacoma. One of the areas that I have noticed is a problem with that truck, on the edges of the hood, right where there's two pointy parts, it looks like the paint ran, and then it dried, and it kind of dried as a bubble. Not a good look for Toyota, and I think Jeep is outdoing them when it comes to that kind of thing. Lastly, let's talk about the modability of the truck. How do things fit? You know, I mentioned I have done a couple of things. I replaced the sliders on the side with steps because my wife wanted steps. So I purchased the Mopar version, not a knockoff. And of course, as it should be, everything fit perfectly. No issues with anything like that. I put a bed mat in the back. My bad on that. The bed mat that I bought is actually too cheap, too thin. I have to put bungee cords across it to keep it from blowing out of the truck. If you're going to buy an aftermarket bed mat, make sure you go with one that has some weight and some thickness to it. You'll appreciate it later when you're not sitting on the side of the freeway because your bed mat flew out and caused an accident. I also put a cold air intake in this truck. I forgot to mention that earlier. It is the Air Raid, and I did that for one reason, and it's based on my experience with Air Raid, and that is the sound. It provides for a deeper, throatier sound coming out of the front of the truck. And in my opinion, if you're looking for something like that, I would definitely look at the Air Raid intake as opposed to an aftermarket exhaust. I have had a myriad of exhausts in my time, always looking, honestly, for that throaty V8 sound, something like what you get with a Mustang GT, the older ones, if you're familiar with those. None of the aftermarket exhausts are going to give you any of that. They're going to give you more of a fart can kind of sound, or even a tinny kind of sound. Definitely not something that I think adds anything to the truck. Whereas the Air Raid cold air intake gives you a nice kind of guttural, throaty sound from under the hood. I really like that. The other thing on this truck, there's two things that I'm looking to do, I guess. Not really part of how's the truck doing, but I am looking to change out the wheels and tires. I'm a little scared because I'm afraid that 14 miles per gallon might go down to 12. Could you imagine? I might as well be driving a full-size older Tundra or something. And then also considering some sort of a lift. Not strongly, though, to be honest. The only reason that I even mention it is because I really do like the look of a lifted Jeep Gladiator, and then you can even go with a little bit bigger tire setup. Probably not something I'm going to do, because I have found with every lift I've ever done, you sacrifice ride quality, and I'm just not willing to give that up. Anyway, just wanted to give you a real quick rundown of how it's doing. Excellent, zero problems, nothing wrong with this truck. I would buy it again in a second. And don't hesitate, at least check one out if you happen to be in the market and maybe you're considering a mid-size truck. Thanks for watching. Stay safe out there. Bye.